Hey everybody, this is Phil Friedman Sr. I was honored to be on my son's podcast, Bass Bros. The boys turned the tables on me. They interviewed me about how I got into fishing, my times in Costa Rica and Mexico, and so much more. It was indeed a pleasure, and I think you're going to enjoy it.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Bass Bros podcast. Philip has two news topics he's bringing to the table today. He's very excited about, and we have again my dad, Philip Friedman, and I say again because I didn't record the last episode. I think I turned it off midway. It was such a bad podcast.
Makes sense.
But no, it was actually a really good podcast. I'm so bummed that we didn't get that recorded. We're going to try to replicate it as best as we can. Last podcast that didn't air, we went through your kind of history with 976 Tuna, what you're doing now with Friedman Adventures, kind of how you grew up and stuff like that. I imagine we'll revisit maybe some other stories, different stories, but we'll try to get through that history again. Philip, would you want to do the news first, or
what do you guys think?
what do you think?
They're dumb news things.
What's in the news?
Taylor Swift made her first $1 billion. That's the big thing right now. The headline was.
Who gives a crap about that?
Well, the headline was.
Hey, watch that microphone.
I mean, oh, wait a second. Taylor, she made $1 billion. Wow.
Yeah. Well, the headline was.
Yeah.
Wait. Speaking of the microphone,
yeah,
boys.
so I'm sorry.
The headline was how much further a NFL football player got her.
Oh.
That's what burst her through the threshold into the $1 billion.
Already making tons of money, wasn't
No,
she?
but that guy put her on the map.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
He's huge. He's got his own podcast, all that.
Okay.
So he
I
put her.
thought she was way bigger than him.
Not at all. She
sure about that?
She busted into the spotlight from dating him.
I don't think so.
Right, Patrick?
Well, she's doing insane concerts
I'll tell you
every
what,
week.
Before she started dating him, did she have $1 billion?
She's probably close.
She didn't have it.
Who's knocking on the door?
Now that she's with him, she's got $1 billion.
I mean, they have the Swifties or whatever they call them, all her fans, the Swifties. And in fact, like the NFL looked at the demographics of a game.
Uh-oh, Dad's
And-
prepared, dude.
And there were all of a sudden a whole bunch of women watching NFL football.
Because of how good looking.
Why wouldn't they
Kelce
be watching
is.
that before she got? He's good looking before
Because she got
came
onto
out.
the news. You're biting this hook, line, and sinker. And the whole point of
What is
this
it?
was to mess with the audience.
Oh,
Sorry.
You
I was
fell
like,
for it.
yeah, I was going like, what the hell, dude?
falling for it. I'm arguing with you. What the hell?
Yeah, no shit, she was big.
Yeah. Okay.
The other news
What else is in the
article-
news?
You fell for it, actually.
Oh, I was like, oh, there's no way.
The other news thing is, did you ever hear the story of the walleye guys that got caught
Yeah.
stuffing lead in the fish?
Yes.
Well, one of the guys just got arrested for poaching deer.
Really?
Yes, he
Oh,
had
well.
3 dead deer on his property, 3 deer heads in his living room that were fresh. And
Guy's consistent, man. You gotta
Yeah.
give it to him. He's a crook in everything he does, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's weird to me about those things, right? Because there's always going to be cheaters in big money tournaments, right? There's always going to be cheaters. So, and those guys are winning a lot of the money. So it's weird when
well, it's
people
whenever-
you look up to are
Yeah.
like,
Well-
it could be anybody.
Yeah.
Hey,
What's-
boys, let the truth be known.
yeah.
When I was growing up, I was 12 years old on the Redondo Special. There was more times than 1 or 2 times when somebody slid a torpedo sinker down a
Oh, for the jackpot?
Oh, yeah. And
outweighing a
the
yellowtail.
deckhand, because you wanted your deadhead to win because you get the entire jackpot. And, you know, we're talking $60 in those days, maybe.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you guys have been doing that for a long, long time. The stupid thing is, and the thing that you didn't want to happen when you weighed the jackpot was, you have this big giant calico bass here, and then one that's not that big, and it just goes.
Yeah, it looks
and it's
insane.
Like, and it's like, wait a minute, how can that be? So yeah,
Take
this
those
was going
one.
on forever.
They'd take those ones home whole, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also whenever money's involved. Like I just read some article on someone who does the codes for the lottery. His family members were winning on the 10th of October, the 11th of February, and they connected it. And he was writing an algorithm and giving them numbers
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was pretty
I
cool.
didn't see that.
This guy had like 20 people win the jackpot.
him.
Really?
Yeah.
But like it would be like a friend's cousin.
Did they bust him?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
using prison.
Oh yeah.
It would be, yeah,
So it's
because he
whenever
could
there's
write the
money
code.
involved,
Yeah.
some shady stuff's gonna go on.
Yeah.
We just got to figure out how to do the shady stuff and not get caught.
Yeah. Definitely. We did pretty well on the Redondo special.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. Dad was writing the codes.
News items. The Swifty.
What do you think about that, Dad?
About what?
We got a news briefing on the show now.
I thought it was great, man. I love current events. And those are perhaps the most important things going on in current events right now.
Not World War III.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well,
We're
awesome.
trying to keep it light here, so I wouldn't.
Thank you, Philip, for coming prepared with some news events. That's awesome.
That was really
I have
exciting.
nothing prepared, so that's awesome.
That makes two of us.
I saw 2 of those and I thought they'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, that's funny. I had I had a couple things go. We have some cool things going on at Canyon Lake, and I'm bummed to be moving out of here and going to Florida. But we figured out the crappie bite, and it is so much fun because figured out the bass too. But we would throw shallow all day and catch little bass, little bass, little bass, little bass. So I was like, I'm sick of this. Let's go try to catch these crappie. Figured out the crappie bite. Caught them all day. I got a burp coming. I'm so sorry. Thank you. So we figured out the crappie bite in like 15 to 30 foot of water, and those bass are in there with them. So you're catching all these crappie, and then all of a sudden, 5-pounder will eat your swim bait. The same thing that the crappie are eating. So it's kind of a really cool, fun deal out here because you're messing with these things all day, and you never know. We caught catfish out of those schools and stuff. And Philip caught a trophy black crappie today. Philip, you want to talk about it?
I was stoked. I thought it was a bass. I just immediately looked at Patrick and said, "Get the damn net." It's a big bass. It came up and it was a 15.25-inch crappie, which I read online is a trophy, is worthy of taxidermy, but more importantly, bragging rights. Oh.
Wow. So if there's any crappie fishermen out there, let us know if that's anything.
Or it's the taxidermist trying to get you to.
Yeah. Is that a big crappie or not?
I read that. Who are the guys up north, Pat? The brothers up there that do tackle.
Oh,
Tactical
yeah. Tactical bass.
That's the article I read.
Oh, they're pretty
Wasn't it
legit.
taxidermy?
No. It was tactical
I
bass.
honestly thought it was.
No.
The taxidermy, like a 10-inch.
Yeah. Make sure you send your $500 deposit in immediately.
So I think we are going to get it taxidermy, not because I really care about that fish, but it'd be cool to put up on the wall and a memory forever. Who knows? That might be one of the smaller ones by the time we get through with these things.
Yeah, there's definitely. I definitely think there's a bigger crappie in that lake.
The thing was awesome and huge. I shouldn't have drank this fake beer. It's killing me. Burping so much. I should have went with the coffee. So let's get into your history, Father. Where do you start? How did you?
Father Felipe.
Yeah. How did you get into fishing?
Yes.
You asked this question to so many people, and I feel like you kind of don't get that question asked to you a lot.
Right. Probably my first memories. I have some early childhood memories, but one was fishing on the old Mondstadt Pier down in Redondo. That straight pier. You know, there used to be all these characters on there.
Yeah.
There was, I can't remember their names now, but there were guys that would make these long casts off the end of that pier. We'd watch them and catch these big bokashi because there's a Redondo Canyon that's really deep.
Oh yeah, I've
These
scuba
guys
dived
could
that thing.
access that.
Yeah.
And catch those. There's also where you would cast a sinker out and then take a clip-on swivel and you would slide a bait down. We call that a slider. You'd slide your anchovy down. Big bonita would bite that. But before that, I was 3 years old. My dad got my brother Paul and I some drop lines, those yellow looking plastic kind of a spool with a green Dacron line.
Yeah.
And man, we caught these big piling perch and we were just hooked after that.
Was Grandpa Albert into fishing a lot, or not really? Yeah.
I mean, when he was in his youth, he talked about fishing on Point Magoo. He had a day where he had 22 halibut on the pier. He talked about black sea bass swimming in, and the guys that ran the concession there was some Japanese guys, and they'd come out and actually catch 200-300-pound black sea bass off the pier. This was in Point Magoo, California.
Yeah.
So he was into it, but you know, when you get older, sometimes you just have too much going on. He had a couple of jobs and trying to be a really good dad, which he totally succeeded at, and he was chronically seasick. So
that didn't help him.
Yeah, no, he went on a 3-day boat with us out of San Diego, and we caught a bunch of albacore. It was so freaking rough. It was brutal. And he literally didn't come out of the stateroom. Never came out. In fact, the galley cook looked at him on the last day and said, "Who the hell are you?" Well, who is this guy? And, all night long, I can still remember it was Paul, my dad, and I. All you'd see is the light would come on at the stateroom. Somebody'd go, "Give me the bucket! Give me the bucket!" And, the trash can. And so he couldn't do that. So that was one really great early memory for me. Also, right there by the Redondo Pier, where I used to take you guys before you go to Bishop Montgomery High School.
Yeah.
In the morning, we go Corvina fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I can see my dad as clear as day, standing in the water and the grunion swimming through his legs. And Paul and I are just like, whoa, just another marvel of nature. Just something that we don't talk about. We most of the time talk about what we caught and the fish that we're after, but it's all that ancillary stuff, the grunion, the birds, the dolphin, the whales, all that stuff, which makes this such a great sport. And then one other thing, we were in Kauai in the Hawaiian Islands. I must have been 7 or 8 years old. They might have been crappie. I don't know what the hell they were, but they were a freshwater fish, and we had these cane poles.
Tilapia.
Maybe tilapia. Yeah, I'm not even sure. Probably were. And it was freaking wide open.
That's
and I
awesome.
mean, pretty much Paul and I, my mom would say, "Hey, come on, we're going to do a luau." We're good,
Yeah.
We just wanted 12 hours a day of catching these things. So
That reminds me of, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But Taiwan, dude.
Yeah,
Taiwan is so freaking awesome with that. Because we had like those cane pulls or something
No, are you talking about
of that
shrimp
sort.
fishing?
No. When
Oh.
we did the tilapia. And they,
shrimp too, but
yeah, the
tilapia,
shrimp's fun. The tilapia in Taiwan, you get like to a pond, and it's basically gambling. You pay a certain fee to go in there, and they have like tilapia tagged.
Yeah.
And if they have money on them, which I don't even know
Well, you
if
get
we
the
know
red
how
tag
much
and
we were winning or
yeah,
anything.
right.
Is it like a time limit?
Yeah, they're like 30 minutes. And you could hammer these fish. He got one. He
Yeah.
got like, did you win any money or could you even do
I don't even remember.
broke even or something?
Yeah. I think
But that was
the
so
girl
fun.
deckhand that day was really cute. I just said, "Go ahead, keep." My
Yeah.
wife doesn't speak English. So.
And then they have the shrimp ponds where you catch your shrimp and then they'll
That
cook
is
it.
fun.
That was so fun. They actually bite your little thing
Really?
and you can hammer them. It's so fun, dude.
He
fought-
would love that.
Yeah, the gambling and fish, hell yeah.
Oh my god, dude! I would be broke if we could do that all day. It'd be
Why don't
so
we do
fun.
that here?
With what? Crappie?
I don't know.
Oh, I've maintained, and here I am going to give away my secrets here, but I've maintained that I think it could be viable to open a place in the mall where you have like the Fred Hall trout thing.
Yeah.
Or the shrimp or something like that, where Grandpa's walking by with his grandkids and goes, "Oh my God, let's take the
Let's
kids
catch some
fishing."
fish, yeah.
And you're in a mall.
Yeah.
And let's go fishing.
That my dream was always to open up like think of like It's a Small World at Disneyland,
Yeah.
like a theme park for fishermen where you get on like some boat that just goes.
Yeah.
It's my like Rob Deerdeck dream, where fantasy factory for fishermen, and you just get, all right, you're going to the smallmouth pond, hop on, here's your bait, or whatever.
Fishing
And
the
then what you
Amazon.
do is you put a bunch of crap in there so they break the lures off, and you have a
Right.
tackle shop like
There
in
you
the,
are.
and you just rake in the dough.
It sounds like when the boys, like in the old days, they used to say, "We're going to go make a drop out here for some rock cut," and they'd drop in the most hideous bottom that would just rip everything. "Oh, you lost your gear. Go down to the galley. They'll take care of you."
All right, let's get. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but get back into your story. And so you kind of set up where you kind of got really involved with fishing. That fire kind of was it like right away you loved it,
Yeah.
or did it kind of
It's a
just clicked?
primal kind of,
Yeah,
the hunter that's in a lot of men.
yeah.
It's just Yeah.
It's weird that some people have that and some people just don't, right? And it's not with like hunting people get that, and fishing obviously some people get that, but it's weird. I don't know do you think if people tried it,
people
they'd.
are wired
I've never
differently.
taken someone fishing and they caught a fish and weren't like stoked,
Oh, I have.
especially. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like they just hate it.
I took Ruth out.
Well,
She caught a 40-pound Dorado. I said, "Isn't this fantastic?" And she said, "Can we go in now?"
that's a different demographic.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, a guy. Have I ever taken a guy fishing that? Probably not. Not
Unless
that I
they're
can think of.
seasick or something. Yeah.
Seasick, yeah, that's like supposedly the most miserable feeling in the world.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I was seasick, but I know running a commercial boat when you get no sleep, I was puking, and I was like, am I puking because I have had no sleep for 3 days, or am I puking because I'm seasick? Whatever it is, I wish the boat would sink because I want to just end this all. That's it.
Yeah, but it's cool that, like, I don't think I've ever seen someone catch a fish and not be happy about it when it comes to guys.
Yeah.
Mostly.
I think 98, 99, maybe 100%. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially when you're doing top water and stuff. Like, even catching I could catch little crappie all day long. I don't know why. It's just in us, I think. It is fun.
It's like we're rock fishing.
We're just laughing the whole time out there.
I just got back from a 5-day on the Independence. There was a guy who was a fly fisherman from, I think, Montana. Never gone saltwater fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, he learned so much. He did really well, and he loved it.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's already hooked on fishing, but
Yeah.
that transition was easy for him. He loved it.
Yeah, there's another thing I kind of want to bring up is like the different types of fishing, right? Because you'll get people who are in salt guys or fresh guys or fly fishing guys. But for me, it's been amazing to experience them all because it opens a whole new world of fishing.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you get like these really salty dogs that are on the boats, like, oh, you're catching freshwater bass? That's dumb. It's stupid.
They
Like, we
never
don't
do
do
it.
that. You give it you're missing out on so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, give it a shot.
It's all interwoven. It's all the same. thing.
Get
We're
on
fishing.
somebody's boat that knows how you're good at saltwater fishing. Get with someone who's good at freshwater fishing.
I'm telling you right now,
And you'll love it.
Most San Diego captains and some other guys also, even LA Orange County guys, their favorite kind of fishing is freshwater bass fishing.
We see a lot of them in the tournaments, right?
So is Bruisendyke,
Yeah.
Danny Cadota, who I have a show with. Danny had one that was 21 pounds or 19 pounds.
Insane.
On a crawdad.
Yeah.
Be clear about that. But, yeah, I mean, those guys, all those San Diego guys, that's what they did when they had free time. They didn't go albacore fishing or bluefin tuna fishing. They wanted to go freshwater bass fishing.
Tino
Yeah.
Valentine's out fishing stripers today.
Yeah, I mean, just
Tino's a big
Don't-
surf fisherman.
yeah.
He loves the surf.
I would say just be open minded about it because
Yeah,
we went to Montana. What that guy was doing, we fell in love with that right away.
So much fun.
Right away. It's fun to. You know what else? I've been able to take techniques from different types of fishing and apply them to all the other types
Oh,
too.
that's very true.
Like the dry dropper on a fly rig. I was tying that today for crappie,
Right.
but with what was I throwing? A grub and a
A swim
ball head swim bait, and we were doubling up on
Yeah.
those crappies. So fun.
I don't know why a bobber wouldn't work really well in the surf. Like you had a line and a worm, you tossed out beyond the wave, and the worm is going like, it's got to get bit.
Yeah, especially with those surf
If
perch.
you can get it past
Yeah.
that wave,
Yeah,
as long as you're not in that type. Yeah, I mean, that would work.
I would think. And in fact, I wanted to do that at Playa Saldamondo because there's that rocky area.
Yeah.
You make a cast with a sinker, and
You're
you're
stuck.
hung up every 30 seconds. What if you just had your worm
Yeah.
going down that jetty?
They have that
You
for
could just
they
hammer
do that a lot in Florida. What do they call it? What's that rig with that orange? The clacker.
Oh, it's almost it's like a clapper.
It's like
Clapper
a
rig. It's an orange rig. They set it up to where it's a bobber, but it also spits water if you hit it.
popping cork.
Popping cork.
Yeah, that would work great in the
Yeah.
surf, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Especially where you're talking.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, now we're talking fishing again. We got to get back to you. Where'd we leave off?
So those young experiences, and then I moved to Redondo, where I used to fish. Pursuit ran out of there. My brother Paul and I, that's another memory, actually. We had 2 spinning reels, and both of the spinning reels this particular day, we were on the Pursuit, we were albacore fishing, and they were chipped or something. So when the line would pull, it would fray the line, and we lost
Yeah.
every freaking albacore we hooked.
Oh,
And
my
we were
God.
up in the bow, and we were hooking. This is our first time ever doing this. Crazy Redondo years, man. I mean, it was insane in those years. Like, I mean, on the way out, we came up bow to bow to the real special. Paul and I are up in the bow, and we're like, and all of a sudden, some guy hands like 8 rods over, and some heavy set guy barely jumps from that bow.
Oh,
onto
my
our bow, 'cause
God.
He wanted to go straight back out again.
Yeah,
So,
that's
crazy
funny.
stuff. So we lost everything, and we were just bummed out, man.
Were,
And then-
were people messing with you about it and all that? Oh,
there-
no.
In fact, what
Yeah.
happened was on the way in, this deckhand named Dave,
Yeah.
Still remember him. Who knows if he's still around? Probably not. Dave walks up to us and goes, "Here, boys, here's 2 albacore for you guys. You tried so hard today." And
Oh, that's
blah,
cool.
blah, 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 blah. So
That's
it was
super
pitching,
cool.
Yeah. So that was another thing. And then, so we were set on Redondo. Lived in Torrance, California. So Redondo was close for us. And then we fished the half-day boats constantly. And those were the days where you fish 5 hooks, ganyons, and you filled every frickin' hook with big on a half-day. Big Boccaccio, big reds.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, I didn't even know if there was, I was 12 years old. I didn't know if there was a limit or not. They said the limit's 15, and I thought it was 15 gunny sacks full. I mean, we would literally fill a gunny sack with these things, and it was insane fishing.
That's crazy.
And both Paul and I were good with people. We had the gift of gab, and so Howard Warbays, a deckhand on there, said, "Hey, how would you like to fish for free from now on and scrub the boat at night?" We're like, "Hell yeah!" We're
Damn,
all over
that's
that.
awesome. Yeah.
Well, how about you start tonight? And do we stay on the boat when everybody gets? Yeah, you stay on. Then we went back into Basin 3, and we felt like big shots. We went and got our deck boots the next day and had the big high deck boots and scrubbed the boat. And, that just set off even more of a love for the sport of fishing at that point.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so after that, what happens? How old are you when you get that first deck job?
I was 12 when that
12
happened.
years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And what would be your next big milestone in fishing? Was it like,
well,
were you and Paul trying to catch specific things, or you just going out there and catching fish and having a good time?
We were catching whatever was available. But I mean, we were talking in those days, bluefin tuna in the bay, Santa Monica Bay, big yellowtail.
Yeah.
Not so much white sea bass. White sea bass made a comeback in the 70s. It wasn't very good on sea bass. There was one day where a guy named John Dipley had 100+ sea bass on a boat called the Dinah Lee at Rocky Point. But that was a flash, we didn't see a lot of that. But whatever was biting, we focused on, including when you got back in the harbor, you could take a bonita pick, which is a feather with a hook that has no barb on it.
Yeah.
And, I'd say, "Hey, Paul, why don't you pick a trash can full of bonita and drag it up to Quality Seafood?" This is all illegal, okay? I'm just telling you how it was in those days. "Why don't you pick, or let's pick it together," and you just do figure 8 in the trash can, drag it up to Quality Seafood, and make $50 or $25 or whatever. I mean, it was a lot of money in those days for a kid.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, and you kind of touched on it. Where was that? How far out of the harbor were you going to catch albacore, bluefin? How far out were you going?
So albacore was pretty much where we fish them now. 43, the Pyramid Head, Clemente. I don't remember catching any albacore any closer than that until 1983 when they showed up in the channel. Albacore showed up in the channel in 83, I believe it was. It was in the fall, and they were straight. They were fished to 80 pounds.
Jesus.
Albacore.
Wow.
And they would not bite the heavy. They would only bite like 12 pounds.
Oh, really?
15 pounds. So you're on a fish for 3 hours.
Yeah.
There was a lot of them caught there.
And what happened with those things? Are they coming back, you think, ever?
Albacore, it's oceanography.
Yeah.
The oceanography has to be right for them. And that includes bait availability, water temperature, chlorophyll. All of those factors have to jive. And I thought this year it would happen, and then when they caught 1 or 2, and probably had 10 fish this year.
Yeah.
We throw in private boater catches, but that still didn't happen. It was mostly up north of us around Fort Bragg. We saw pretty good albacore fishing up there. But yeah, they'll be back. I asked Frank Lopreste, who has way more knowledge than I have in my pinky about this. I asked him this year, "Are we going to see albacore this year?" He said, "I don't know, but they'll be back."
That's usually a fall deal.
No,
would you say?
It is the traditional time used to be before you had sonars, before you had water temperature, anything else. The boats in San Diego would be fishing the Coronado Islands, catching hundreds of yellowtail, and then they'd say, "Time to put the jig lines on the boat July 4th and go out and do an exploratory." So they went out there blind.
Wow.
And then hook out, and threw some bait, and hey, it's albacore season. So July 4th through the fall. And then many times it would move to areas like Morro Bay.
Yeah.
Up there. And of course, Central, a lot of years was Ensenada, Baja California, Mexico. So there's a place called the Inner Bank, and that's very close to Ensenada, right there. So those guys could come out of there and wallop them. San Diego boats ran down there and walloped them. Then they'd move up toward Pyramid Head at Clemente. Sometimes they'd be out on Tanner. There was a time, tracing my career a little bit, where I ran a boat called the Thunderfish.
Yeah.
When I was like 20, I was going to Loyola, so I ran it in the summertime. And we were out on Tanner Bank, and we were catching tons of rockcod. Rick Effinger was there, who owns Marina del Rey Sportfishing. And we see a bird school. And when you're fishing rockcod, you're making money. It is fun, but, you know, if you see like surface stuff going on, I know we used to have the radio on, and you'd hear Eddie McEwen on the Pacific Queen come up and say, yeah, we just had 2 jig fish and 26 bait fish. And just like, man.
I want to go do that. Yeah.
So we see this bird school. We roll up on it, and I'm looking, and Rick's looking, and I go, what the hell? And it was this like swirl of red, something red.
Yeah.
Just swirl. It was these little tiny boccaccio with albacore just going, choo, choo.
Jesus.
And we're like, oh, let's do this. And so we threw on a bunch of albies. I think Rick had a lift pole, and we lifted some fish. And
It's got to be a blast.
Oh, my God. It was so much fun.
So I have another question. There's a whole generation of young fishermen who haven't had that experience with the albacore. My first experience, I think I was 4 years old when I caught one.
Yeah,
that was the last time I caught one, right?
Probably, right? Or
No.
Oh, no, because
that
we
was
went on
your.
the
Or was I
Polaris
8 years old?
No,
you
your
were
first.
4.
Your first one was 4.
Yeah.
On the
We had-
Tracer.
We still had a
Steve
couple
Thompson.
years after that of
Yeah,
pretty
because
damn
we're on the
good.
Polaris Supreme.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So my question is, what's the difference between albacore and bluefin? Is it a more fun bite? Is it kind of the same deal? Is it a better eating fish? Just kind of go over the differences for our younger audience who
Sure.
hasn't been in a wide open
And
albacore
it's
bite.
funny you say this, because Shane Thompson, who ran the Independence on our 5-day trip, the Friedman Adventures 5-day trip, his very first time running the rig.
Yeah.
And he came up to me and he goes, you know, I got to tell you something. I've never seen an albacore.
Really?
And I go,
Yeah.
You're cracking me up. Now you're making me feel prehistoric, dude. You know, he knew that I had predicted all that stuff and everything else. Well, it's kind of subjective. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people,
With everything, yeah.
A lot of people, when I start talking albacore, say, well, you got these big bluefin. Why are you trying to wish them away? I'm not trying to wish anything away.
Yeah.
What is going to happen is going to happen no matter what I say.
Mm-hmm.
So albacore have a tendency to bite really, really well. Where bluefin,
They can be
drive you
finicky.
crazy.
Yeah.
But when albies come to the boat, man, then you can throw on 100 in a half hour.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they bite full speed. Not all the time. And we used to say when they mixed with bluefin, albacore and bluefin used to mix together, albacore would get finicky. And it's almost like guys would say, they're acting like bluefin. Like, almost like the bluefin are
They're teaching them. Yeah. Yeah.
Which, you know, who knows if that's true or not. Albacore prefer that cooler water temperature. 63.5 is a water temp that's perfect for albacore.
Yeah.
You can catch them in 70, 72 degree water, but they like that 63, 65, 66 degree water. Bluefin have the ability to regulate their body temperature. In fact, when they get into dark, when they get deep and it's dark,
Yeah.
they can flow more blood to their eyes so they can see better.
That's crazy.
So they're very, very unique in that way. Albacore, just some of the finest eating fish I have ever had in my life.
Now,
So-
can you sashimi that, or is that more your canned tuna in the grocery store type of deal, or what do you do? How would you cook
Yeah,
it?
I mean, we used to cook it all the time, and guys like my mom did not like fish; she loved that. Guys at school, they would go, "What is this? Like steak?" Or,
Yeah.
So, you know, you can can it, which is a great way. Jalapenos, put whatever you want in there. Jalapeno. I used to do jalapenos. You can sashimi it. Albacore sashimi is great. You can sear it, which is another great way to cook it. One of my favorite ways was you take your albacore, you bacon wrap it, and then you grill it, and then you put it in a mixture of fresh lemon, butter, garlic, and oregano, and just kind of make sure it's all covered in that.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Don't overcook it.
Yeah.
And it was to die for. You
And-
could end cold, like the next day, just take a chunk of that. So freaking delicious.
And so you say they bite kind of a little bit better. Does that mean you're throwing heavier line than you would usually, or what's the rig setup? Same as a bluefin, or
Most of the time you can fish heavier line. I'll give you an example of that. Scott Mizell was a deckhand on board the Pegasus. Joe Chait was running the boat. Scott now owns the Condor. I think he's retired almost. So
Yeah.
I met him when he was a kid. and he was on deck. And he says to me one day, or Joe, one of those two. I thought it was Scott though. He goes, Phil, we're in a wide open bite on albacore. Joe Chait was standing in the stern with a garden hose, going shh, just spraying it in the water. It looks like fish are boiling.
Yeah.
And he's just going like this, and they're just full speed. He goes, try the cranium hook. And I go, the cranium hook? What are you talking about? And he goes, look. And he had a freaking 14-0 hook.
Yeah.
Like this.
Jesus.
Like this. And you pin an anchovy on it with 100-pound. And he goes, when you swing on them, it goes right up into their cranium and they're done.
Wow. That's
Really?
crazy.
You kidding me? Put it in the water. Don't let them get their head. Just whine, get them to the boat, and pray that you have a deckhand there to gaff it, because once they get their head,
They're
and you're
taking
buttoned
off.
down on 100-pound, you're about to get your butt kicked. You're about to get screwed. So, I mean, that kind of exemplifies how crazy it can get, or lift balls.
I think I remember us catching them on candy wrappers.
Snickers.
Yeah.
Bars.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Supreme?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd throw it out like a surface iron and they'd come smoke it.
Do you guys have any memory of being up in the bow and just seeing them swim out and eat your bait?
Oh,
almost?
yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
The most vivid memory I have from the Supreme is Rothery calling me up to the top deck, and this is before I even had polarized sunglasses. I didn't even know what they were. I was a kid. And he goes, look out there. You see all that? And I'm looking. I don't have the sunglasses on. I go, yeah, it's a big kelp line there, right? And he goes, nah, put these on. And I put them on, and it's just hundreds of yellowtail. It looked like kelp.
Oh, that was Cedros.
Yeah, I remember that too.
right.
Yeah.
And I just remember seeing it, and I remember I go down to the bait tank. The deckhand goes, here, put this on. Gives me a big mackerel. I throw it on 80-pound on a big hook, throw it out there, and I remember getting bit. As soon as it hit the water, it was on, and I put it in gear, snapped 80-pound.
Dang. I hooked one of those huge yellows that deckhand told me. The deckhand told me I hooked a seal, and he told me it was a yellow, and pissed me off.
Oh, right.
Because I was whining on that thing forever. And then, like, right at dusk, I hooked another one that felt like a seal. And he goes, it's a yellow, man. And I go, yeah, right. Here, you deal with it then. And he reeled it in. It was like a 55-pound yellowtail. I was like, Jesus.
That same trip, I remember someone hooking a seal, almost losing a thumb because it was wrapped in the braid.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my
I remember
God.
that.
Who was
And
that?
I forget.
Uh-huh.
I remember I shut the door on Chucky's finger.
finger,
Yeah,
right.
I thought you might have been mixing that up. No?
No.
different?
I remember specifically a guy in the back with a seal on, and he's going, cut the line.
Jesus.
Oh, my God.
And then I remember, what was the other thing I remembered? I forget.
Bow jumping was insane
jumping.
for us.
Hey, well,
I can't believe they let us do that.
That was fun.
The Mako shark.
Oh, is that what it was?
You remember the yellows coming up and hitting the Mako
Oh,
shark in
yeah.
the stomach? And
Yeah.
the Mako shark was throwing up.
Oh, yeah. That was
eating-
so weird,
They
dude.
were eating the...
Yeah,
what was
yellows
throwing-
do that a lot.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
It was a big Mako, but I think that thing was so stuffed it wasn't able to get away, so it just sat there and took it until it threw up.
We should look out in the camera right now and say hi to Tommy Rothery.
Yeah.
Yes. What's up, Tommy? Shout out, Tommy Rothery. Some of the best times in our lives.
Right?
And I didn't want to glance over the bow jumping because bow jumping, for you, if you don't know, it's when the bow of the boat goes over a wave and then you jump as it's coming down.
We're not
So
recommending anybody
do
do
not
No,
do
don't do
this.
it.
But
You're
for
gonna
us,
piss
when
off.
we were
We did
kids.
it all.
I remember me and Philip jumping and
Laying on the ceiling.
we were laying on the ceiling. Our backs were up
in
on the
the-
ceiling.
Yeah,
in the stateroom.
did you ever do it in the bow?
Yes.
Dude,
That's scary in the
I
bow.
think I know the story you're
didn't
gonna
like
tell.
that.
No, I don't. I'm not going to tell any particular story other than I caught some air with my brother a few times where you're way above the rail and you're like, "Gee, is this a mistake?"
Yeah.
Well, obviously
It's scary.
is, but,
Yeah, that's how I felt on the ceiling.
Like, oh my God.
I heard a story, and it's probably bullshit, but I heard a story where I guess the deckhand, it was really, really rough, and he was screwing around in the bow jumping, and he went over the wheelhouse into the tank.
I don't know. I would love to have that on video.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah. That's a good one.
That's hilarious. All right, so let's keep continuing your story.
Yeah, I think we're getting to.
I love jumping off track though. It's
Yeah,
fun.
sure.
Yeah.
Right.
You were 12. Now we're getting into your high school years.
Yeah, high school years. So I fished a lot. Rick went to Bishop Montgomery. I applied for something called work experience in my senior year, which I just went down to Barney Barnes, who ran the Redondo Special. I go, hey, Barney, can you sign this thing? He goes, what is it? Well, you didn't even say, what is it? He goes, sure.
Yeah.
Signed it. And what it was I would be working in the last two periods of school, and then I'd get a grade for that. I'm like, what the hell? You
It's the
seriously?
easiest grade ever. Yeah.
This or,
Sit in class.
algebra?
Yeah.
I'm in.
That's what I did with sports. I was like, just put me on whatever team.
So I did that. So that meant on every day, I was done at 11:30 at Bishop. 11:30 a.m. my day was over at Bishop.
Where other kids like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they're like, then I'd go, I'm going to go home and catch some sleep, because we played street hockey constantly also. So I go, I'm going to get a nap. I'll see you at Walteria Park and watch a street hockey game. Whenever there was work available or I could fish, we would go. But a lot of times, weekdays, there was no boat. There was not enough people to run. So I kept fishing during my high school years, surf fishing, going to Mexico. Paul and I'm pretty sure I was 17, 18 when I approached my mom and dad and said, hey, we're thinking about driving down to Mexico. And, Uncle Jack, there was this guy, Uncle Jack, hey, those banditos will cut your head off. And scaring the hell out of us. I'm like, hey, well, what should we do? And she goes, yeah, I could just go for it.
Yeah.
We basically we have a map of Baja and like a gallon water bottle.
Yeah.
And our fishing rods. And choom, off we went, man. We went to TJ, hung out in TJ for a little bit, and then drove to Laredo. Very first time down there.
I'm going to
all the way to Laredo.
Sidetrack you again here. So you have a unique perspective on Mexico, right?
Yeah.
You've been there so many times. And your perspective is that it's very safe to travel. Would you say that? Or would you say it's very safe to travel if you know where you're going and you can speak Spanish? Is speaking Spanish a must to travel down to Mexico?
No.
Okay.
No.
So what advice would you give someone who's never been to Mexico? And you've kind of heard the same thing all throughout the years about Mexico. Has that changed? Is it the same?
It's the same.
Yeah.
Same thing.
So what do people say and what do you advise?
So
What's the narrative?
People say you're going to get your head cut off.
Still, so you're 17.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, have you heard that before?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? It's dangerous. It's blah, 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 cartel. All that stuff is real.
Yeah.
Cartel violence is all real.
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff that goes on. Pretty much every single time there is some violence on an American, it's because that American is somewhere where you shouldn't be. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're going to the red light district in TJ, northern Tijuana, that's a very dangerous part of town. I know a lot of guys go down there. They go to the Hong Kong club and they go to blah, 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 blah. It's a dangerous part of town. Okay? Most of the time you're going to be fine down there. There's a lot of cops and that kind of stuff. But it's a dangerous part of town. If you stay in the touristy areas, you're going to be fine. You go to the restaurants that are good. You go to those, fishing venues. You're going to be fine. But if you get off in those wrong areas, you can get in trouble. There was a guy, I don't remember his name. I don't want to get into that, but he was running a long range. He was the captain of a long range boat.
Yeah.
In Cabo San Lucas. And he got shot in the face one night. And so one newspaper guy, who I won't mention either because he's a friend, but he got on this whole thing about, see, he's been saying, I told you it was dangerous. Now an American captain gets shot in the face, blah, 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 blah. Well, I had a source down there in the government, still a good friend of mine. And I was talking to her and she goes, be patient, okay? Just give me till the morning, okay?
Yeah.
So she sent me the police report. And the police report said that he was in the red light district at 3 o'clock in the morning, tested positive for cocaine, and refused to press any charges against the guys who did it. So the idea is if you're doing cocaine and you're in the red light district, bad things are probably going to happen to you.
Yeah.
You know?
One of the taco guys, I think you asked him, just like a taco vendor in Mexico, said one of the wisest things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
You asked, what do you think about Mexico, to a local guy there? And he just goes, like, you asked if it's safe or not. He just says, if you want trouble, you can find it.
I remember. Where was that?
That was like in Rosarito. It was all of us. We were all there. Jessica.
Which is something you can find in L.A., Chicago, New York.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think, a lot of my Mexican friends, when people say you're going to get your head cut off in Mexico, they're like, didn't 50 people just get shot in Chicago over last weekend?
Yeah.
They're like almost a little offended by it. You know what I mean? Because really, I mean, you got to look at the statistics about tourists, and not that many. You can get caught in a crossfire. Don't get me wrong. You know, if a cartel is putting a hit on a rival gang, and there's those turf wars going on, especially
Usually that's not in the
Tijuana.
touristy areas, right?
Touristy
That's not
area.
going- yeah,
You're out in
once-
the hills of Tijuana.
It has happened, but you're right. It's up there in La Gloria and places like that. I recently, not that long ago, was in TJ, and I was going to visit an orphanage because some guy, I forget who it was, told me, you should go visit this orphanage. They need your help.
Yeah.
So I was in Plaza Azteca Hotel, and I said, hey, where the hell is this place? And I showed him the address. They go, oh, my God, that's like 45 minutes away. I'm thinking, I didn't even know TJ was that big, you know, right?
Yeah.
45 minutes. And he goes, hey, that's cartel land. I'd be very careful out there. I go, really? And he goes, don't get out of your car. Don't, if you get lost, go to a gas station or, you know, an Osco, 7-Eleven kind of store. So I'm lost. You know, of course, right?
Yeah.
I'm totally lost. And I'm parked on the side of the street, and I'm looking at this woman selling tacos. And I'm just looking, and I finally say to myself, there's no way that woman is not a decent woman.
Yeah.
So I walk out, and I say, excuse me, you know where this orphanage is? And she goes, oh, I've heard of that. Hijo, she calls to her son, do you know where this is? And he goes, man, I've heard of it too. She goes, hold on, let me make a phone call. So she makes a phone call. She goes, my girlfriend's coming. She'll take you there. So a little red flag.
Yeah.
You know, like, but I'm still looking at this person, and my gut is telling me, I could be totally wrong, by the way. I'm not recommending you go. And so the girl shows up, and she goes, can I get in your car and show you where it is? And I said, sure. So turn left, turn right, go this way, go that way. You know, I'm going right into the ambush. Right?
Yeah.
That's what's in my mind.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even doing that. I'm going straight to the fucking border.
Right, exactly. And so she goes, there it is. And here's this orphanage. It says, I forget what the name of it was. And I go, hey, well, thank you so very much. And I hand her $20. And she said, hey, wait, are you going to come? What are you doing? Are you going to bring clothing? Are you going to teach English? And I was toying with the idea of teaching English there.
Yeah.
Especially if I relocated to Baja. I said, I'm thinking about it, but I'm not sure. And she goes, and I looked at her, and I looked at her shoes. I looked at everything. She was poor.
Yeah.
She had no money. And she said, just promise me you'll teach me English if you come back. She wouldn't take the $20.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
So even in the midst of all that. So the point is, you need to do your research before you go, because you do not want to drive into one of those areas.
And it's easy to do, right? Like, you can get lost very easily. over there.
I
Yeah.
get lost still in
Me
TJ
too.
all the time.
I get lost here.
Yeah, I get lost all the time. So you just need to, or go with somebody, like, you know, a caravan. We should do a caravan and take people down there.
Which you've done before.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So you are,
go
by
ahead.
the way, a couple of things more. You know, in Costa Rica, when I met Ruth, she was doing something one day. I go, hey, can I walk around here? Is it safe? She goes, yeah, it's perfectly safe. And I, you know, like to though, you know, I figured there was no life insurance, so she wasn't trying to get me knocked off. And the hotel girl said, yeah, no problem. Well, this was another one of my weight loss periods.
Yeah.
I was walking 400 miles a day.
Yeah.
I walked into one of the worst barrios. In all they had a gang called the Chapolinas, grasshoppers, and brutal gang. And I walked into that area. And I'm like, hey, this feels weird here.
You can feel it.
You can feel it. So I turned around, started coming back, and a kid walks out of the bushes in front of me, and he's just standing there, 15 years old maybe.
Wow.
And I start walking toward him, and I said, ¿Puedo ayudarte? Can I help you? And before he answered me, I started pedaling backwards, and out came this huge blade.
Jesus.
Just missed me. And then he's chasing me. And so I just turn around and start running, and I'm like, looking like rock, stick, something to defend myself with. And then I look back, and he's on the street corner laughing.
Damn.
And I go, you pinchy, you know, and I go, wait, this is not a good idea either.
Yeah.
And some guy goes, hey, I'll help you. And then he runs over and he tackles this, and he starts beating. And I go, no. This was some guy going to the market for eggs.
Oh my God.
Beat the hell out of some guy. And so, yeah, that was a close call. So there's bad, I mean, like Philip pointed out, Los Angeles, anywhere you're going to find. You just have to be really careful. And the other thing that I will admonish you all about everybody should take a class on mordida, which in Spanish means bite, which is when the cops stop you.
That was my next question. That's my big knock on Mexico. You got a lot of, I would say it's common where the cops pull you over and they're doing a little money cash
Pretty
shakedown.
common.
What's your advice on that? It's happened to me for sure.
Man,
I didn't listen to my advice.
What?
You would have put your money in your sock.
well, I do that. You got to have some money in your wallet, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
20,
you got to leave
40
$100 in there or whatever, just so that.
You
Yeah.
open the wallet in front of them.
Yeah, and you
They
got
see
money.
That's all you got.
Yeah. What would you advise someone? Because that could be a very scary thing for somebody
terrifying for
who's
somebody.
never been there.
Especially you don't speak English, don't understand how the legal system works there.
Yeah.
Threaten you with a Tijuana jail cell.
Right. And there's no, they're under Napoleonic law. There's no writ of habeas corpus, which means here you're presumed innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
There,
You're guilty.
you're presumed guilty until proven innocent. So that's all scary stuff.
Yeah.
Recently, well, I'll tell you, and then I'll tell you about what you definitely bringing any kind of firearm or even a bullet in your car.
Yeah.
Anything like that will end you in La Mesa Penitentiary for at least a few years, and you do not want to spend any time there, man. It's brutal. Talk to people who've been in there for a few years. I can tell you what I do and then kind of extrapolate from that. So I speak good Spanish, decent enough Spanish, and I understand the whole game.
Yeah.
If I did something illegal, then I'm going to try to buy myself out. That's one of the beauties.
That's the other side of that, right?
Yeah, that's the other side of it. That, you know, here you're going to end up in court or you're going to, you know, whatever. Here it's $100. Sorry, you know. If I didn't do what they're talking about, I just look them straight. They'll start, well, you're going to have to follow us into the station and I'm great. I can't wait to meet your boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. I had two Tijuana cops try to pull this on me recently with a guy who was scared crapless. And I told him, so I was driving, you know that when you first go into Mexico and you're driving up that long road before you make that right to Rosarito on the toll roads?
Yeah.
That long stretch. And I'm driving up that stretch and I see this cop come out. And I just saw him come out. He hadn't lit up or anything. And I go, this guy's going to light us up and he's going to try to extort us for money. Watch your cash. Okay?
Yeah.
So he pulls us over, has me go to the front of the car, put my hands, has him go to the front of the car. I know what's going on. They're going to search the car and hopefully there's some cash in there. And so I was smiling and laughing. He goes, what's so funny? And I go, no, nothing. I go, I'm looking forward to telling your boss what a great job you do. And he goes, really? And I go, yeah, I'm going to need your name and your badge number. He's just like looking at me like, you a-hole. And then so he goes, you got any drugs? I go, no, I wasn't speeding, wasn't doing anything wrong, you know, whatever, you know. And so pretty soon he looks at me and he hands me my driver's license, pretty much like, I'm going to go find another gringo that's easier than you. This is too much trouble. And so off we go. And I, you know, looked at the guy that was with me. I said, yeah, you okay? And he said, yeah, you know. We get to Rosarito Beach. He left his wallet in the car.
Oh, and they got him.
Yeah, they took $400 out of
Dang.
his wallet. I go, dude, I told you. You know, I had my wallet in my front pocket. And, you know, if he was going to steal the money, he was going to do it right in front of me. And then I was driving straight to, and who knows what happens at that point. I've heard some horror stories about it. I've heard some other, you know, here's $100 and you're out of it. So that's me. I speak Spanish. I've lived in Mexico. I understand all that. If you don't speak Spanish,
That's my next question. What do
Before
you
we get there,
Yeah.
why are these police officers doing that? Are they
money.
right?
Yeah.
What are they making as
So-
a police officer? They're not making they're not making money like a police officer.
No,
here.
now
There's still no excuse for that,
There-
in my
there
opinion.
isn't, but there's still a drive behind it.
They got that power
I'm
and they're
not making
using
an
it.
excuse
Yeah.
for 'em.
No, I understand, but you're
I don't
right.
think the government wants that going on
Yeah,
I don't think they
for
care.
tourism.
you know that kind of culture is a part of Mexico in many ways.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I was younger, I knew what the cops made. So I don't know what they make anymore. I could figure it out. I'm guessing $30 a day,
Yeah.
$40 a day. It used to be $7 a day.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And they just have that power to where they know, hey, I'm good for the next 2 weeks if I make this stop or whatever.
Oh my God, they're making big money, actually.
Yeah.
Some of those guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big money.
So yeah, my next one more question, and we'll move on. Someone who doesn't have your temperament, someone who's a little more timid, someone who's going down there for the first time. What do they do when they get pulled over? How do they prepare for that traffic stop? Should they prepare for that traffic stop like it's going to happen ahead of time?
Yeah. So when you first get pulled over, I would do what you do in the U.S. pretty much. In other words, you might turn your car off, take your keys, put them on the dash, put your hands on the steering wheel, do all the same stuff you should do here. Cop walks up on you here. I always look at it from the cop's point of view. That's a scary thing. So if he sees my hands on there and I'm not going to drive away, he's a little more at ease.
Yeah.
And you don't want to give him any excuse. I mean, I would not carry very much cash on me, number one, so you can't get screwed out of that much. I would try to make it, 'cause most of those guys are somewhat bilingual.
Yeah.
Because they have to be to extort money from you.
Yeah.
So I would just make it clear that I didn't do anything wrong, and I'm happy to go to the police station with you. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know. Now, if you don't want to,
Someone who's timid might not want to do that. Yeah.
shit, well, they're gonna either have to say I don't have any money,
Or here's $40.
yeah,
Yeah.
buy your way out of it. Which, you know, I mean, it's
That's what happened to me in where was I? Puerto Nuevo, I think, or something. But I was late to the airport.
right.
This guy stopped me for running a stop sign. There wasn't a stop sign for the last 3 miles or whatever.
Sometimes they're behind a damn tree.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something. It's like, well,
And
stop sign.
this guy just had me dead to rights because I was gonna miss my flight, and I just go.
Did you let him know you had a flight?
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. I told him, let's go back to the station.
Yeah.
That's that whole deal. And then I looking at my phone, like, God, I gotta get out of this now.
Yeah.
And I just had $40 in my wallet, and I go, hey, dude, here's my wallet. $40 in there. It's yours. And he goes, all right, see you later. I think that would be just put 40 in your wallet. Be prepared for the stop. Don't be nervous.
Right.
Act like you've been there before.
Yep.
And
Make eye contact. Don't take your eyes. Don't, once it's a whole thing. If you keep staring at them and smile, like I'm smirking and I'm doing that with 1,000 cars going by me. I'm not so sure I would do that on some road out in a rural
yeah.
Because I might get my teeth bashed out.
Yeah.
You know? I've never had that happen before.
yeah, it's a fine line to walk down.
Finish
there.
that story
What?
where you got pulled over.
What about it?
You go to the airport.
I go to the airport, then they try to take my rod. It's my grandpa's rod that I love so much.
Right.
And I'm like freaking out. And they're telling me to check it. The lady at the front told me I can't check it.
Is this
Then
Mexico?
I'm going,
or
Yeah,
this is
airline?
Mexico, yeah. Then they're like, we're going to take this from you. And I said, I'll miss my flight. I don't care. And then they shot me right through.
Oh, we had that happen on a cruise. Same rod. It's a little travel.
They're
rod.
always
You can
trying to
take
take
down.
grandpa's rod.
Oh, man.
And I had the
It's a G. Loomis. It's bad.
It's really nice.
I don't even know if they
Breaks
make them.
down.
Gary Loomis is going to be on my show December.
Oh,
by the
really?
way.
Oh, really? Tell him
That's gonna be awesome.
we'll test his product out for him.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. Seriously, I will.
That guy doesn't need us.
Yeah.
His rod speaks for itself. But we're getting on a cruise line in Mexico, and this guy goes, I heard him say, thank God it spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
I heard him speak to a woman that was there. He goes, I'm getting that rod. Yo quiero este caña. And I heard him say that. And as soon as I got up there, they go, yeah, you can't bring that. And I go, I need your supervisor now in Spanish. Yo quiero hablar con tu jefe. I said it straight in Spanish. They're like, well, wait a minute. You just can't have. And I go, I want to talk to your boss. I heard you say you want this rod. You're not getting it.
Right.
And they just looked at me with a frown and said, go ahead.
Yeah, right. Now, I think it's important, while all this is a reality in Mexico, the people of Mexico are
100%.
the best people you'll ever hang out with.
Yeah.
Heck, you went to a Halloween party one time down there,
So much fun.
and you
You know, it was,
weren't you in? I mean, you were alone pretty much.
yeah, I went to, it was like a Papa's and beer
Oh,
Halloween party. I would 100% recommend it to anybody that's of partying age. It was the coolest party ever. You know what was insane to me? 3/4 of that crowd was white.
Oh, really?
They were all from San Diego. Everybody. I was like, because I'm always under the impression people are so scared to go to Mexico. But
Right.
everybody was partying. It was such a sick party, dude.
Yeah.
Because like Papa's and Beer, they have that little small area, but they opened up like a giant concert venue for that, and I had so much fun. It was a blast.
I went to bed because didn't we hike Coronel that day?
Yeah, we hiked. Yeah, I think that
Were
day.
we shooting the fireworks off on the beach with Bubba and everybody? Was that after?
I think so.
we had
I don't know.
dinner at Tony Lozano's. Was that another time?
I don't know. They're all merged together.
Yeah, I know.
But I can tell you this: some of the most fun I've ever had in my life was in Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that whole thing wasn't to bash Max. It was just
No.
No, it's just
We're
trying to
being
inform
honest,
people.
right?
Yeah. No. I think there's great parts of Mexico and there's bad parts of Mexico.
Like everywhere else in the world.
the good
Exactly.
times in Mexico
Everybody has different cultures.
outweigh the bad times by far.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Those
That's why I keep going
experiences,
back.
those cop experiences, I probably had 2 or 3. I don't go as much as you. I'm sure you've had dozens, right? Or something.
You know, honestly, probably if I had to say, since I've been going for 50 years, I would probably say 10.
10. That's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, one every 5 years.
Yeah. And then
And
that's the only thing that can kind of put a damper on the trip. Everything else is amazing.
yeah, I do want to make clear. I was with a guy, and we were trying to get through a bunch of stuff for an orphanage. So Mexico will tax that stuff.
Yeah.
So we try to sneak it through. So we you know, I mean, if they stop and see that stuff, they're going to search the whole car.
Yeah.
So we went through. And we get through, and like right when we get through, I look at him and I go, "Yeah, man, we did it. Let's head to the orphanage and we'll give all this stuff out." And so the guy pulls over because he's got to take a leak. He's taking a
no.
leak, and I look in his glove compartment, and there's 6 bullets
Oh, no.
in his glove compartment, and I go, "Hey, are you freaking kidding me?" And he goes, "What's the big deal?" And I go, "We're freaking in La Mesa Penitentiary. If they found any of that stuff and then searched the whole car back there, we're in La Mesa, man." You understand? He goes, "Oh, I had no idea." And I go, "You cannot have anything like a fire." Took him and threw him out the window. Like, you idiot. You know, oh my God. And yeah, La Mesa is not a fun place to be in. In fact, I don't think they may have a few cells there, but you're pretty much outside. And you better have some money to buy your food with. You got to have money
And protection, probably, too.
better have some money to find some big bad guy.
Yeah.
Or, you know, that's going to be crazy. Which reminds me, I don't know why we're spending so much time on Mexico, but one
Well,
more
that's a
thing.
big part of your history.
Well, one more thing. There was some brutal stuff going on in Mexico at one time, and Hugo Torres, who owns the Rosarito Beach Hotel, was the mayor. Pete Thomas was an LA Times writer. So I pulled you guys out of school.
Yeah, I remember he was all freaked
think I
out.
told your
Wasn't he
brother
freaked
about
out
this
or
one,
no?
right?
Was he freaked out about going, Pete?
Yeah, because we
He
launched him
was,
in a bathroom.
yeah.
Yeah.
In Tijuana.
He was a little freaked out, but I almost like to hear it from your eyes. We walked in to have lunch with Senor Torres,
Yeah.
and you can describe what, you know, we're sitting down, lovely lunch. Rosarito Beach Hotel is a great place, but remember, I don't know if you remember, we were driving, there was no cars on the road.
Like it was yesterday.
No people.
Why was that? We had an escort too from the border.
Yeah, I mean, because there was a lot of cartel violence going on.
And the reason that we were going to meet with Hugo and the cartel stuff, and we had this big escort, is because Hugo took a stand against the cartel.
Yes.
And that was a big no-no for
Yes.
any government official.
he had a
to do.
bulletproof vehicle,
Yes.
and
And we went into that Rosarito Hotel for the meeting. We weren't part of the meeting. We were too young.
do you remember that?
No, I remember we were eating dinner or lunch
we
with
were eating
Hugo
dinner,
and
yeah,
everything.
and
Yeah.
lunch.
I totally remember it.
I just remember seeing the meanest, biggest, baddest Mexicans I've ever seen in my life. And I remember this one guy just walking. Straight out of an action movie.
Yeah.
Sunglasses on inside, standing there like this, big
Surrounding us.
surrounding us. And he had this big black trench coat. And I just remember him moving a little bit to where his trench coat opened up, and he had 2 Uzis
Yeah.
in his belt. And I'm going, "What the fuck are we
He's going, "Dad."
Yeah. Well, I remember we sat down and started eating,
Yeah.
and they kind of were in the shadows still.
Yes.
And then you look up all of a sudden, you're like, oh, shit.
They're
There's
everywhere.
A lot of big guys
I was
here.
like, how the fuck are we supposed
Are
to
we going to get hit? Yeah, I was like, are we going to get hit with like a bullet right now? We're going to snipe Hugo right through the freaking window or something.
God.
But yeah, Hugo was awesome, man. He was such a
Still
good dude.
is. Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy.
And his
wasn't
daughters
it?
are awesome. Yeah, that was such a cool moment. Great lunch.
That was good.
Rosarito Beach still putting out good lunches.
Absolutely, 100%. And then in Tijuana, there were 15 decapitations that same day.
Yeah, and
Pete
then we
Thomas
locked
was
Pete.
freaked out. We were in a Pemex gas station, and we locked Pete Thomas in the bathroom, and he was like trying to stand up on the sink, and he was going,
Yelling out the window.
Ayúdame, help me. And we finally let him out, you know?
Poor Pete.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, let's get back to wherever we were with
High school.
your life.
All right, back to high school. So then I ran the commercial boat for a couple of years, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We had several near-death experiences, as you might imagine. You know?
The boat is cracking.
The boat is cracking was a smaller other commercial boat. We were at Santa Barbara Island. I crawled down in the chain locker. Had the flu so bad.
How old are you guys?
17, 16,
17
17.
at SBI.
Yeah. I mean, we were always pushing the limits.
Yeah.
We're at Santa Barbara Island in a skiff. It was pretty much an 18-foot skiff, this one. And I'm down in the chain locker. I was so sick, had a really bad fever. And I hear Paul and Rick Santella out there. And every 2 seconds, oh, another one. Oh, shoot. Oh, wow. You know, and I'm like, oh man, at least we're making money, and it'll be the payday. Well, when I finally crawled out of there, they had like 3 blue perch and a whitefish. I'm like, what the hell is all this? What are you guys yelling about? Well, I don't, you know. So coming home, we were pounding so heavily. All we had was a compass. We got way off track, and Santella is yelling up in the bow, "The boat is cracking! The boat is cracking!" So we pulled it back a little bit. We ended up in San Pedro. We missed Redondo. I was so sick that I just, take me home, you know?
Dock it,
Called the
yeah.
owner of the boat and said, "Hey, your boat's in San Pedro. Good luck." Well, we're not even sure where it is, buddy. And so that was that. There was another funny one that I'll tell you on the Thunderfish. We were fishing Tanner Bank, and this guy, Gordon Stewart, he's dead. He got hit by a truck not that long ago. Good guy, funny guy.
Yeah.
And he weighed like 350 pounds. Big guy. And he was just seasick as hell. So, of course, you know, my brother and I being commercial fishermen and sensitive to his needs, we're laughing and like, oh, you know, you big wimp, you know, and he's down in the bunk room, and then he'd run out and throw up. And we're just fricking putting the wood to the reds, and we're pushing up to around 1,000 pounds of fish. We want to get 2,000 at least before we go home. And he yells at me, and he says, "Please, come here." So I go down, and I go, "What?" And he goes, "I'm having a heart attack." And I
Oh,
go,
my
"Yeah,
God.
Right. And he goes, "I'm having a heart attack. I'm telling you the truth." And I go, "Yeah, bullshit. You're not having a heart attack." And so I go out and I go, "Hey, he says he's having a heart attack. What are we going to do here? You know, if he's having a heart attack, you know, and we got to do something." And so he calls me down again, and he goes, "I had a heart attack 3 weeks ago." And I go, "You have a history of heart attacks, and you're telling me you're having a heart attack, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, please help me." And so I look at Paul and I go, I have no choice. So grab the Marine radio, channel 16, Coast Guard Radio Long Beach. This is the Thunderfish. Do you read me? You know, put a mayday out pretty much. And so a guy comes back to me and he goes, "Okay, where are you? Know, what's going on? Where are you?" And we only had Loran Seas in those days, so it's kind of hard to figure that out. But we were near an oil rig. And so he goes, "Are you declaring captain?" Right? And I'm 18. Captain. I'm not even a captain. I'm my captain. But he says, "Captain, are you declaring an air to sea rescue?" And I said, I look down at the bunk room and I go, "Am I?" And he goes, "Yes." And I go, "Yes, sir. I'm declaring." Well, it was about 15 minutes, and we had an F-16 go, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Buzz right over our asses and then bank out. And I go, "Oh, they know where we are now."
Damn, that's
Yeah,
cool.
how cool is that to my
Yeah.
brother? You know, we're like, "Yeah, that's pretty bitchin'." And so the Coast Guard goes, "We got a helicopter en route. We need you to go to that rig. They've got a landing platform and offload your guy." And so I'm like, "Okay." So it was like blowing 20 at least, maybe a little worse than that, and 6 to 8 foot seas. And I got to back up to this rig, and I'm like, talking to the guys on the rig now, they were in on it, and I'm like, "I can't, hey, this freaking swell is going to push me into that rig.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, you can do it, Cap. Come on, you can just back it up here. We're going to drop a net to you. And, you know. All right. So I back up, and then I'm like, my brother's like, punch it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like going in. So they drop this net down, and they drop a guy or two in the net to get Gordon to help get him out. So he's in the bug room. Meanwhile, my brother's jacket gets tangled in the net, and it's dragging him off the boat. I think he like took a knife and cut his sleeve off, and so that we were good there. So they finally get Gordon out.
They put him in a net?
Yeah, like
a cargo
hoop
net.
or what do you call it?
Cargo net, right?
Yeah, kind of like that.
That's what I'm imagining.
They dropped this net, like when the Coast Guard rescues somebody, like a basket.
Or like when you climb over those walls, those kind of things?
That's
like
what I'm
the
thinking.
net?
Kind of like that.
Yeah, like the military kind of deal?
Something like that, yeah. Because I'm trying to run this freaking boat. Anyway, this freaking swell pushes our tuna tower with our radar, and we just go boom into part of the rig and puts this huge dent in our tower, but it didn't do any damage to the boat. It messed the tower up.
Damn.
And so I punched it, and then, you know, like, there he goes. He goes up, and the guys are gone and everything, and we go, and we're out there like rock caught-in, you know, again, and we're catching fish, and then I go, hey, look, there he goes. And so you see like the helicopter take off. I go, well, you know, hopefully he's okay, you know.
Yeah.
I saw him 2 weeks later. I go, hey, you okay, dude? Yeah, I don't even think I taught. I should have called him or that. I can't remember. You okay? And he goes, yeah, hey, I faked that because I was seasick.
Oh, my God.
A-hole.
Doesn't he have to pay for all that
He
crap?
would have had, dude. He's dead now, so he's not going to get in any trouble.
That's like a 30. I think it's like 30 grand or something like
yeah,
that.
in those days.
So he just said he had one, and then when he got to the thing, he was fine?
No, he faked it with all those guys, too. And then,
Yeah, but he tells them I had it or whatever.
Right. Oh, I had chest pains.
But is there medical expenses that he has to
No,
screw
not
with?
in those days. In
Oh,
fact, you didn't
wow.
have to pay for the towing. I ran out of fuel on the dumping grounds, ran from Redondo to the dumping grounds, 120 miles
Yeah.
to catch albacore, ran out of fuel, called the Coast Guard. Guy shows up on a cutter, and he says, hey, you boys are having a little trouble. He was a real cool guy, the guy that was running it. And he goes, all right, hey, I need somebody on the wheel, even though we're towing you guys. I need somebody on the wheel. So, yes, sir, you know, no problem. You know, turn the radio up full volume and then go down to sleep. Yeah. Hey, are you guys on the wheel? Yes, sir. We're on the wheel. You know, you run out as quick as you can, you know. And but the funny thing was, when we got up, we looked at the cutter. He's towing us, right? You know what he's doing off to the side of his rig?
What, trolling?
Over albacore. Yeah.
Were you guys trolling or no?
No, we weren't. But the guy, he goes, man, I sure love albacore. And I go, hey, man, we got, how many you want? You know, here you go. When he first pulled in there. But cost zero.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he towed us into San Diego and left us there. So there was a couple of crazy. There was more crazy commercial stuff. Believe me, you know, we had no idea what the hell we were doing.
Yeah.
No idea.
Damn.
So we're learning on the fly. That's for sure.
That's super crazy.
Yeah.
So you got your credits for doing your after school
Yeah.
program.
Right.
You're going now.
The only classes I got A's in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you graduate from Bishop. What do you do?
Oh, he broke the rule.
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have. This
His
is an
phone's
emergency.
ringing.
So Jessica, even if my phone's on silent, it rings through.
Oh, so
We'll pick it up and see what the emergency is.
No. No,
What-
I have
what
it set like that because you know the job she has. It's very.
Well, is she calling with an emergency?
Yeah,
No.
pick it up.
Oh.
No, that's just what I have it set to.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh.
it rings every
That
time.
makes
I know
no
she's.
sense to me.
Yeah, but I know she's calling with some BS
Oh, okay.
right now.
All right. What was the question?
What'd you do after you graduated?
So wait, no, that was after you graduated, right? The commercial fishing or no?
Yeah, I was at Loyola. in
Okay.
those years, yeah.
So now
Would-
we're at Loyola.
Yeah. Yeah, and then in between all that, I went to Costa Rica for a year, spent a year there.
That's where you learned most of your Spanish,
That's where
or
I
did you
learned-
learn it
that's
in
where I learned
Mexico
Spanish.
beforehand?
No, I didn't speak any Spanish.
Oh, so when you got it from Costa Rica, you came back and were like, "Well, I could use this in Mexico."
Yeah.
That's
totally.
cool. That's really cool to
Yeah,
keep.
totally.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and all through Spanish class at Bishop Montgomery, I couldn't say hola.
Yeah, that's
didn't-
crazy.
Yeah, because it made no sense.
That's funny because in my Spanish classes, I had Mexican guys cheating off my test.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, one thing that a teacher, I think, needs to do is to show the student why it is important to learn and do it on the student's level.
With any subject.
Yeah. So, I mean, for some student, it might be, hey, you'll be able to do business in Mexico. And for some other schmuck, it might be, hey, there's lots of pretty girls in Mexico. You
Yeah.
want to look, whatever it takes to motivate that person. What it took for me was I went to Costa Rica, started meeting all these little kids that I was teaching, and they're all the coolest kids and the funniest kids, and they're saying stuff to me, and I'm like, I want to know what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to say something. I remember the first time I said something to a kid in Costa Rica, maybe like, ¿Cómo estás? Yeah, how are you? And they go, oh, bien, y tú? It was like, oh my God, he understood me.
Yeah.
You know, it was so cool. I want more sentences and more vocabulary, and I want to learn more. And
Yeah.
so that really induced me to want to learn more and more of the language. So I spent a year there, a couple of years in Costa Rica also, or in Mexico.
Well, we're skipping over some things here.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm gonna do a time check while you ask this question.
Why are you there? Why'd you stay there?
Yeah, so Costa Rica, there was a priest named Father Ignatius, great guy, toe rings. We used to go out and spray people with a fire extinguisher after a class at Bishop Montgomery. Great guy, super good guy. And we used to, he was going to Costa Rica to teach in the missions, and he said, you should go. And it was at a time when I had knee surgery. I was in the hospital. So I was like, I didn't.
Tobogganing, right?
Tobogganing.
That's the thing you told us you were attacked by a white shark for
Yeah,
years.
exactly, with a scar on my knee.
He's got like 40 stitches up his knee. And
I
for
got
what?
bit by a white shark.
15 years we believed it was a white shark attack.
Yeah.
We got 25 minutes left.
That's it?
Just giving you a heads up. Yeah.
Yeah.
We might have to do a part 2.
Yeah, we might.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went there, and then I would teach kids. And part of the funny story about Costa Rica was when we got there was a German priest who was really super strict. So like someone would come to the front of the parish, and they said, we had this baby and we want to have a baptism. And this priest would like, are you married? And no, you're going to hell. I'm not baptizing your baby. And so they'd be going, with their heads down, and Father Ignatius would run out the back and say, hey, where do you live? I'll be there tomorrow. We'll baptize your baby.
Oh, that's
Take
cool.
care of it."
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a super good guy, super cool guy. And so I would teach. One of the things I did was there was a house of prostitution not too far down the street from the parish.
Yeah.
And this priest tried to convert those girls from prostitution into doing a sewing co-op, sewing clothing, selling the clothing, making money that way. And he pulled it off. He got all those girls out of that business. But I taught their kids English. So their kids would come and we'd goof around, and, I taught the kids English, and I would walk. I had long hair in those days, looked like Jesus. Yeah. And I'd walk by the cat house, the prostitution place, and the girls would all come out, Felipe! Hey! And so people driving by are like, man, that guy must be spending some serious money at that place,
It's pretty ironic. The father taught the girls to make clothes instead of taking clothes off.
Yeah.
They made clothes to put on. That's really cool.
Exactly. So
there's definitely a little tagline in there for a great nonprofit.
Oh, I'm telling you. One of the funniest things, man, I'll tell you, and I had no idea how dangerous it was. One of the first times I met those kids, they were in a freaking closet. They kept like screaming, like they were in this, and I go, what is going on? I didn't speak Spanish. I was just there. And there was 5,000 rats. Oh, and they were in these bricks, and they were trying to kill these rats. And there were literally kids coming out with by the tails with 5 rats in each hand. Jeez. So I was in there throwing stuff, and you could easily have gotten bitten by one of them. The way we were so.
I hate those things.
They were throwing them in the water. It was bizarre stuff, man, but it was so funny. I was all over that. So. Yeah, some crazy stuff definitely. When I was living in Latin America, it was still Costa Rica was not like it is now. It was a little bit more wild. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Hey, and moving forward with this podcast, I don't want you to rush anything.
Yeah.
Just do another part 2.
Okay.
We got about 20 minutes left.
Yeah, we can stop at any point and pick it up whenever.
Well, we're gonna stop in 20 minutes, but when we get to about 5, I want to go over a little bit of what you're doing now, and I'll let you know when a good time is for that, so people can follow you now.
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about?
No, where are we?
You're at Loyola now.
All right. So at Loyola,
what are you going to Loyola for?
Because I had no idea what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be. I was a history major. Totally enjoyed my time there. Pretty useless degree in many ways,
Yeah.
but you know, I mean, at least I got a better idea of the world and made some dear friends. Father Sweeney, Father Tom Maloney, who graduated from Notre Dame, was a big domer and loved to fish.
I really want to talk about that USC story.
Oh my God! So Tom was great because he used to go fishing with John Dipley with me.
Yeah.
And Dipley was always really courteous, you know, father, blah blah blah. And,
why is that funny or something? Is he not a courteous guy?
you know, he's a guy. You know, sport fishing guys are. I don't want to say they're not courteous. Many of them are, but they're
right. They're
kind
salty guys.
Blue collar, salty, kind of macho. You know,
one of my favorite stories you tell about Dipley is when he's saying they're coming right under the boat and he's laying on his back in the wheelhouse.
Oh my God, that was I mean,
set that up. That's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, John Dipley is like I walk up in the wheelhouse. I believe it was the Grande, and he says to me, "What's going on out there?" He's like asleep, and people out. And I go, "Oh, it's kind of crappy, you know. There's not much going on. Caught a couple bass, and you know, not much." And he goes, "Hand me the mic," and he's on his back, laying there
on the floor.
On the floor,
yeah,
on the floor, and he's like, "Hey, everybody, I see some yellows boiling up here in the bow, so change your baits and work hard at it. You might want to drop down to some lighter depth." And he hands me the mic, and he's just laying there, you know. It's so funny. He was a funny guy.
See, that's why I think it's funny that you, like when you brought Sweeney down there, he's really like,
yeah,
sir.
Yeah, right, exactly. I remember there was I was working for Dipley on the Redondo Special, and the first deck on the boat told me, what did he tell me? He was just being a complete a-hole. Yeah. So I go, guess what? I quit. I'm done with this. And I had one of those big wooden tackle boxes, and he takes it and he just shatters it, throws it down on the ground, and busts it into a million pieces. And then he comes at me, and we are in a full-on fist fight in Basin 3 in Redondo with Rick Effinger and all the guys on the city of Redondo yelling, "Kick his ass, Phil!" And so we're just going at it. And finally, I get him in a headlock, and next thing I know, man, I got a big chunk out of my arm. He bites the hell out of me. My shoulder. And I'm like, what the hell? So I remember I went to Dipley's, you know, I've got a bloody t-shirt on, and I go, "John, look what happened." He goes, "Hey, you better go get a rabies shot." That was bad. I forget what happened at that. I think I still quit, and, you know, no big, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And stuff like that happens in the sport fishing business. But, yeah, he's a character, Dipley. So I was at Loyola, and I also spent some time working in the ticket office at Redondo Sportfishing. So I got to understand the business from that level also, how crazy it is. The phones are ringing constantly. Yeah. You got 300 people going out on the night barge, and the half-day boats are coming in, and the overnight boats. This is when Redondo was one of the hubs of sport fishing. Mm-hmm. It's not anymore. But at that time, it was like one of the places.
What happened? How come it's...
I don't know. I mean, I still think it could get that way. And many people will say the guys that are over there right now are doing a fantastic job of bringing it back. I don't mean to disparage them by saying it's not now. It's just that at that time, there were 2 island boats going every night. There were 2 half-day boats. There was a 3/4-day boat. There was a whale watching operation. There was some charter boats. That's all I mean to say about that. You know, it was really rocking in those days, yeah. And there was a lot of good Redondo guys. Eddie Leland came out of there. Pat Conklin, Torres, who's dead. He died, right?
Jason, the monster sea bass.
Yeah.
Shallow water blackout.
Do you remember Deborah Gonzalez?
Deborah Gonzalez, yes.
Yeah, a real cute girl.
Yes.
She was on our show from time to time. Mm-hmm. And I went with her, and Taurus trained her to certify.
Yeah. You want to hear fun? When I was working mall security, we get a call that there is a lunatic in the parking lot. And I go, all right, give me a description. We'll head over there. And they're like, it's a big shaved head guy. The most recognizable thing is a smiley face tattoo on his back. And I go, smiley face tattoo? And I roll up, and it's Taurus, and everyone's petrified. Because Taurus was a big dude. He had this smiley face tattoo on his back with the eyes X'd out. He looked nutty.
He had face tattoos?
Face tattoos, neck tattoos. He looked like...
Yeah, right. Those guys got kind of intimidating.
None of my guys...
Those are guys that have checked out of ever being a corporate bank.
Yes.
Or whatever.
None of my security guys know that I know this guy. I kept it to myself, and I walked up, and I go, hey, Taurus. He turns around, he goes, Phil. And I give him a big hug and a handshake. What are you doing out here? You're scaring everybody. He goes, I'm waiting for the bus. We got phone calls. I go, just chill, I guess, because I see ya. But all the guys looked at me like, how the fuck do you know that guy? And I go, oh, he's a cat. I used to work for him on the special.
I have another question. It might be too early to ask, but it's kind of the question I want to end on with. Where did you get your public speaking? Did that come naturally? Was it your parents? Was it law school? Was it always just talking to different people? Because you have a gift for connecting with people anywhere you go, whether it was in China, whether it was in Mexico, here, you can like really make friends very quickly. And then obviously on podcasts and radio, you've been, it seemed growing up, seems like you've been natural at it the whole time.
Yeah, I think it's God-given. And to be honest with you, I feel like my oratory skills are better now than they've ever been. And I feel like they are because of the morning briefing.
Yeah, just
because every single morning
practice.
I have to, reps, right?
Yeah.
Right? And I just feel like I've given a couple recent lectures at fishing clubs.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm way more on my game than I feel like 976 tuna days and stuff was over the top and maybe a little too enthusiastic.
But it was perfect for that time.
It was.
Yeah, that's what that time was.
Yeah, it worked out good. But I feel like now doing the reps, there's no day that I'm not doing something in front of the camera. And it's God-given. And also my mom was a really good example. She, same thing. She could make friends with anybody. I watched her make friends with, it didn't matter what color you were, what race, any of that stuff. She could make friends with you in about 30 seconds. So, I really, really, really like people.
Yeah.
Which is why while I'm waiting to make millions of dollars on my podcast, which is never going to happen, but that's why I bartend.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't mind bartending. I don't like, the idea of being like in a cubicle in a corporate kind of situation, like selling insurance. I did that for a while. I'd almost rather be in prison than do that. And I know there are people out there that do that and they feed their families, and they have my deep respect. But for me, and there's been some really tough times in my life, like, where am I going to get the money to do this? How am I going to pay this? I have nowhere to live right now. I wouldn't trade that for the life that I've had, which has been such an adventuresome life.
Yeah.
It's been crazy in that way. But where was I? Where were we going with this?
Just talking about your public speaking, like so it mostly came naturally.
It came natural.
With the reps, it seems like
the reps are what do it.
Yeah,
and the reps were on 976 tuna also, but that was kind of that was pretty much all fishing because I had 3 minutes to get it out there. Yeah. Now what I'm doing is
more
trying to mix in some humor. I try to stay away from politics. Try to stay away from that. Sometimes I get tempted with stuff that seems so vital.
Yeah.
And so horrific or something to make a comment. And I'll get somebody who puts a comment like, stick to fishing. And they're right in a way. They're coming
for the fishing.
Yeah, they don't want to hear that.
They've
had enough of it.
Yeah, they're hearing it from every other angle.
And so I think I've learned that if I want to do that, I'll open another channel.
Yeah. That
caters to people who want to hear that. But I've listened to the people who put those comments.
Yeah.
I think they're right.
Yeah.
You want to, if you go to a comedy routine, you don't want to hear about horrific war situation. You want to escape.
Yeah.
And I go to the movies.
Exactly.
That is the way I escape reality. I go to a 3-hour movie and I sit there and I want to see something that entertains me and takes me away from my work or the reality of what's going on. So.
Yeah, and then I think you two are much more bubbly than I am. It's probably the worst way to say it. No. But you guys are very extroverted, I would say, and kind of good speakers and exciting speakers, where I'm more like kind of laid back. But I think it's important for me to not try to match that and just do what I feel. Do me. I'm just going to be me.
Well, I mean, you're anchoring this show and doing a fantastic job, if you ask me. So, well, both you guys. But, yeah, you have to be who you are. Once you start trying to be somebody else.
People can sniff that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not genuine then.
Exactly.
And they can tell.
Exactly.
I've had some guys meet me and say, I was curious when I finally met you whether you'd be a big a-hole or you'd be a cool guy. And most of them say, yeah, you are an a-hole. No, most guys, I try to treat everybody really decently.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that I'm anything I'm just like anybody else.
Yeah.
Have a few gifts from the Lord, and that's it.
Yeah, you figure them out. So if people want to hear more stuff like this, how do they find you? Do you tell stories like this on your Friedman Adventures? Or
Yeah, when we do
recap?
long form pod. Well,
Yeah.
this has been pretty good in terms of my history because, as you guys said, I don't think we've ever sat down and done that.
Yeah, we still, I think, have a lot more to cover.
Steve from Promar wanted to do this, from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And so Steve Oropesa. So if they want to find me, Friedman Adventures on YouTube is a great way to do it. You can also find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and anybody that wants to get in touch with me personally, 657-227-6459. They can welcome to do that.
Beautiful. And if this podcast is being recorded, it will be on your platform as well.
100%. Yeah,
Perfect.
100%.
You can watch it here or there. We don't care.
Well, so how do people find you guys if they're on my platform?
So we're Bass Bros Fishing. I think it's Bass_Bros Fishing on Instagram. Instagram I'm most active on. If you want to reach me, you have a question. We love answering fishing questions. If you want to see what we've been up to, follow our Bass Bros Instagram. YouTube's where you're going to find our podcasts. This podcast that you're watching right now. Subscribe, please. That helps us, continue to work and put these out. And YouTube and Instagrams are a big thing. Am I missing anything? I feel like I'm missing
TikTok?
TikTok, we're on TikTok. We're posting funny stuff here and there. We try to do, our theme is informational comedy. Like we try to put out information that's going to help you. We like screwing around. You love screwing around. It's just because of you, we now screw around fishing. And anybody who's ever been on our boat knows exactly what that looks like. 500
fart noises.
Yeah, so I would say we're more informational with like a lighthearted comedy sense. And if you enjoy that, then we're for you. If you don't enjoy it and you absolutely hate it, comment and
let us know.
Yeah, we love that. We've been getting a lot of bad comments. It's so funny. But either way, I like every comment that we get because we really do appreciate them, even if you're being a dick.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Some guys are cracking me up on it. But yeah, informational comedy. My dream is to shoot comedy sketches. I enjoyed the entire process of writing something out, putting it to film, and making people laugh.
Right.
That's what I really enjoy.
You guys should jump on our Christmas party if you're not doing anything, December 2nd, and invite all your Bass Bros fans to come to that. It's at the Redondo Beach Rod and Gun Club.
Oh, cool.
And I don't know, you're going to have to check your schedule, and that dates this podcast a little bit. This would have been December 2nd, 2023. But we're going to have food and all kinds of great stuff. It'll be a fun time, and you can invite all your guys, too.
What's going to happen?
I think we're going to have Santa Claus, so if you want to bring the kids for Santa Claus. A great meal, chicken tacos, rice, beans, all kinds of raffles, cornhole, all kinds of casting fun. It's going to be great. And there's going to be, I think Bill Wilkerson is coming from the Malahini and a bunch of other guys. Mike Morrison is going to come from 22nd Street Landing. So should be a really fun afternoon.
That's awesome. We got time for one more thing. I wanted to bring that up really quickly. I know you got to go to a chili cook-off. Tell us what's been going on with Notre Dame and that whole USC. You had some USC fans kind of chirping at you before the game. What was that?
Oh, God. Well, that has to be one of the most rewarding games I have watched in a long time.
Yeah.
And, Caleb Williams, he painted F-U-C-K Notre Dame on his fingernails. And, he's a kid. And I listen to one of my Notre Dame guys that I really like. So I listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
And he's all Notre Dame. And I think he's right. He goes, everything I've heard about that kid, Caleb, he's a really good kid. He studies hard. He works hard. He's a good kid. You know who I blame that on? The guy was saying. And I thought this at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. His coach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
he should know better.
Lou Holtz, if you had that on your fingernails, you wouldn't be playing in the game.
Yeah.
And I hope the same thing goes with the Notre Dame coach right now. To make that point, I put a significant amount of money on Notre Dame one year and the teams were like 1 and 2. It was a huge game. It was at the Coliseum, and before the game starts, there's this buzz through the whole place, and I'm going, "Is this what?" That the 2 best Notre Dame players were in South Bend. Holtz left them there.
Why?
They showed up 5 minutes late for mass.
Jesus.
The 2 best players, and I go, "Great, thanks, Lou. Really appreciate it, man." Notre Dame blew them out.
That's crazy.
And he said the team, no individual is more important than the team. And I'm sure he went into that locker room and says, "We got our 2 best guys at home. You guys are going to have to step it up."
Yeah.
And so this whole Caleb Williams thing, the F Notre Dame and everything was kind of, I still enjoyed that they beat them so significantly. You know, Bob Osborne has been talking.
Yeah, they played a prank on you right before that.
Yeah,
Which we didn't know about until the day of the game.
Right. What did they write on there?
Go USC.
Go
on your
USC.
No,
phone.
he wrote "fight on"
Oh, fight on.
on the bottom of your coffee cup,
Yes.
and he would drink it on morning briefing.
Right, and it would
It
show
would say,
up.
"Fight on."
Which is pretty funny.
It's
That's
really
good. Gotta
good.
admit.
It's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, that was great. And I never noticed it because, you know, I only listen to the audio pretty much when I, make sure that's all good. And so, yeah, that was a funny one. And the good Lord above, man, that coffee cup was sitting there, and I bumped into it, and it fell on the ground and broke, and I had no idea that was on there. So my higher power, man, just shot a lightning bolt down and blew it up.
And you had your Bob Osborne was saying something about Notre Dame not being undefeated or something.
Yeah, he was saying, "Man, it's such a bummer." This is before the game, that Notre Dame is not undefeated. We sure like to kick the crap out of an undefeated Notre Dame before we go on to the national championship.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen Bob. He's in Florida right now, so I'm definitely excited about seeing him.
Now they lost to, what was it, Utah last week? They got blown out by Notre Dame.
They got blown out. How was that game? What'd you guys think?
It was the most relaxing. Even at halftime, we're up. We're like, let's keep scoring.
Yeah,
What
right.
do you mean relaxing? We lost our under.
I know, yeah.
In the last 2 minutes.
Dude, I'll lose that bet every
Yeah,
day.
exactly.
Yeah.
After we lost the under, I'm like,
Yeah,
just
better
ram it
games
down their
about
throats
it.
now.
So then they lost to Utah, and I think they're currently losing to Cal.
Yeah, today they were. Yeah, they were behind the Cal. They got all kinds of problems there. They really do.
Yeah, well.
Start coloring your fingernails
I
again.
remember during the game we were blowing out USC, and we had another USC fan over. And Dad just goes, "Wow, they're going to be lucky to play Fresno in a bowl game." I started dying.
I'm not going to do any cheap jokes like, you can't spell suck without USC. I'm not doing any of that stuff.
Yeah, so that was an amazing day, and we just wanted to chirp back at our little USC haters out there. So, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Friedman Adventures, Bass Bros Fishing. If you guys want to continue to follow along the journey, Dad's got plenty more adventures in him, and so do we. But we'll catch you on the next episode. It sounds like we got a part 2 coming up.
We're gonna pick up after Loyola, and we're gonna start getting into the good stuff.
Are you gonna do crappie again next week?
Of course, I gotta catch a new record.
I might go out all week.
I'm coming back next week.
Yeah.
We'll see what
Sounds
your
fun.
schedule lines up.
Oh,
We'll
that
figure
sounds
it out.
good.
All right, guys.
Oh, shoot. Next week I'm
You
on
got a
the
trip.
horizon. Yeah,
No, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
There'll be a part 2.
Play
no
the
matter
end
what.
of the podcast and pick up where we left off.
Perfect.
All right, everybody. Thank you
All right,
so
boys.
much.
Hey,
That's fun.
good times.
Go Irish.